So it all started when Clone Riggy showed this QR code on a bunch of shorts. This happened on the 23rd of November, aka Recruitment Day. Scanning the QR code brings you to the boss's Discord server. Yes, the boss made an actual Discord server. And there he basically wanted us to make shorts about himself and to spread his message across YouTube. In the channel we can also see this area where there are lackeys. These are people who work for the boss. And the two that were listed were cdotkom and Bambeo. And interestingly enough, if you go over to cdot's channel and check out the short he posted on Recruitment Day, Clone Riggy does not show up with the QR code. Instead, cdot himself shows it and we see him with the boss's mask. We'll get into that later. Also in the Discord server, there's a channel where all 6 of the original season 1 people talk. And they have no idea that this is the boss's Discord server. The only channel they can see is this one right here. Except for Phaleur for some reason. Anyways, the last thing I want to talk about on Recruitment Day is on Danos Channel. You see Clone Riggy literally confronts Riggy and drops an anvil onto his head, which gives him amnesia. And then Clone Riggy shows the QR code which leads you to the Discord server and another QR code. Scanning this one brings you to the boss's YouTube channel. That's right, the boss has a YouTube channel. And we come to find out that he's gonna post a lot of motivational YouTube shorts. You know, like Sigma edits and stuff like that. But we also see a pretty interesting video. It's the meeting with a bunch of shareholders. And they think that Clone VPN is an actual legit company. But then throughout the video, they learn that the boss tricked them. And then the boss gets rid of them. Anyways, that's Recruitment Day finally over. We then start to see cdot stealing a bunch of shorts from the other creators. He then gives this to the boss so he can just react to it. Oh, and back to Riggy. Yeah, Danno wasn't present when Clone Riggy attacked Riggy. And when Danno comes back, he's really confused by the way Riggy is acting. And that he has a scar in his head. So eventually he sends him to the hospital. Which leaves Danno confused and freaking out about what happened. So he goes on a live stream to investigate and he finds out about the boss's channel. He now canonically knows about the enlisted videos. He knows that Clone Riggy is officially back. He is panicking, but he takes a break and then comes back to stream and watches a bunch of the boss's content, which is just motivational shorts and all that. And he gets the wrong idea. He gives the boss the benefit of the doubt, saying sure, the boss has done a bunch of questionable things, but that the boss is just trying to grow on YouTube. And because Danno's all about peace, he doesn't fully trust the boss, but he's going to give him the benefit of the doubt and see where everything leads. So he's kinda trusting the boss, but not really, but kinda. Until Riggy gets better and comes back and says, yeah, you missed a bunch of the stuff that the boss did, including the whole thing about getting rid of the shareholders. So Danno doesn't trust the boss again and makes another live stream where he finally watches all of the end credit scene video from season 1. And he sees this scene right here.
What is he putting on? That's not what I thought it was it?
Danno now thinks that Jonny RaZeR is the boss. So Danno confronts RaZeR about this. And Johnny's sad that Danno doesn't trust him fully anymore. So Johnny is really focused on trying to find proof for his innocence. Anyways, next we got Bundan and Joe Kane being trapped. So Joe Kane got a Genshin Impact sponsorship. And you could kind of do this sponsorship with like someone else. So Joe Kane chose Bundan and they accepted. And yeah, things went wrong. The sponsorship was fake. And then some like weird stuff happens. Bundan's kind of like thrown into this void. And then his clone is back. His clone Dunbun then like takes control of his body or something, which is kind of confirmed by this video right here where someone says wake up and we can see that his eyes switch from green back to his normal eye color. This tells that the clone went from being in control to Bundan actually being back and controlling himself. But I guess that only happened for a little bit of time because in the next short the clone's back in control. So basically the clone has control of Bundan's body, but with Joe Kane it's kind of weird. He also gets a clone. He didn't have one in season 1, but now he does. His name is Ko. Instead of Joe, it's Ko. Get it? With the last name, it's anyways. And it seems to be similar with how Bundan is, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe Joe Kane's clone is an entire separate person, while Bundan is just being hypnotized by his clone or something, and Bundan's clone is in control of his body. But with Joe Kane's clone, it seems like they're physically separate, just like how it was in season 1. I think that's how it is, but I'll bring this up a little bit later. Anyway, cdotkom has this website, and if you enter this code right here, it unlocks this. This is kind of a teaser for what's to come later. Anyways, going over to Danos Channel, we see Riggy has this weird symbol on his ear. While going over to Mogswamp's channel, clicking on this short right here, if you then click the related shorts, it gives you Morse code, and upon doing a bunch of decoding, seriously, shout out to these people who figured it out in Dotch's Discord server, it gives you this right here, which is a YouTube URL, which leads you to a secret video, which thanks to this comment, is letting us know that there's a secret rebellion against the boss and his team. That's what this single symbol means. And we also see the symbol on RoyalPear as well. So Mogswamp has started a secret rebellion against the boss. Anyways, Danno's streaming Among Us with a bunch of the shorts creators. But at the end of the video, he gets a phone call. And we hear him start talking to someone. Everyone thinks it's RoyalPear. And they're talking about meeting up somewhere. I think it's for the rebellion. So they talk about that. But Danno also mentions this.
Oh yeah, it's been going fine. They haven't replied to me yet. I clicked on the thing, but it It was an odd email, but you know, I accepted it or whatever. You know, it's my dream, dude. I've always wanted to be on that podcast, but you know, it literally felt like a dream come true. It literally didn't even feel real. I barely even read the things. I just like skimmed through it and was just like, yup.
Yep, Danno got an email about a podcast and accepted. And if you know anything about Shorts Wars, that's not good. And in the next short we hear this. Well, actually, I'm going to show you the short before. Listen to this.
Exposing lying YouTubers.
And now listen to the short that came out after the live stream.
The blobfish isn't ugly?
Yep, Danno got cloned. But you're probably asking, didn't the clone machine get destroyed? Well, a little bit later, Clone Riggy literally confirms that he rebuilt the cloning machine. But anyways, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Clone Danno is now controlling Danos Channel, and Riggy immediately knows that something's wrong. And then he gets hit in the head again and has amnesia. Anyways, back to Jonny RaZeR. He uploaded this short right here stating that he knows who the boss is. And he got in touch with one of the boss's associates, which we learn is cdot. And cdot is basically giving him coordinates to a phone, which is directly in line to talking to the boss. So Jonny goes to pick up the phone, which is at a Wendy's, funny enough, and is now planning to talk to the boss in a live stream and reveal once and for all who the boss really is. But before we get into that, I should probably tell you about a huge video that cdot posted. It is the facility video. Yeah, there is a lot to unpack here, but basically at the end of season 1, Jonny has snuck into the facility and completed his mission and is now leaving. And in the facility video, we see that Jonny has completed his mission and is now leaving. And he bumps into cdot. But cdot is wearing the mask, so Jonny thinks that cdot is the boss, and Jonny pretends to act like he's his clone, since that's how he got in the first place, and so he slips on by. But then we start seeing cdot sneak around the facility, gathering a Pokeball, hearing the boss in the distance, and doing a bunch of other stuff. Anyways, as we know in season 1, Royal Melon sacrificed himself as the thing controlling him exploded, destroying the facility. However, in cdot's facility video, after the explosion, we see that Royal Melon survived, and that cdot picks him up with the Pokeball. Royal Melon is back. This is some great news. However, we're gonna get into some not great news. Mogswamp's rebellion is going strong until clone Bundan, or hypnotized Bundan, and Joe Kaine's clones show up and dox his Minecraft world, having everyone join and destroy everything. He has been working on this world for over a decade, and now it's all gone. They even stole his backup files onto a hard drive. And not only that, but they doxed Mogswamp in real life as well. So now he has to pack up and go into hiding. The rebellion is starting to fall apart. Oh, and you remember how Danno and RoyalPear were talking about going to a place? Well, they head over there, and it turns out to be the second facility. The second facility is the one that we saw in the end credit scene at the end of season 1. This is separate from the first facility, which is where the cloning machine was. But yeah, Danno and RoyalPear reached the second facility, and yeah, the coordinates they were given, I'm pretty sure it was a trap. As they go down, see the computer, RoyalPear even does a live stream on it, but then they get captured by clone Danno. Danno gets tied up, and RoyalPear is literally thrown into the computer, into a video game world called Whizzle. And this is where Royal Melon is, and he is captured, so RoyalPear has to make his way over to save Royal Melon. Anyways, it's finally the time you've all been waiting for. Jonny goes onto a live stream, and he reveals who the boss is. The boss is Jonny RaZeR's identical twin brother. And now the boss is inviting Jonny onto a road trip, where the boss is going to try and get Jonny onto his side. I think that's the case, but I think it was later revealed that the boss was going to eliminate Jonny RaZeR. Anyways, Jonny accepts this request as Jonny feels he can get the boss onto his side. And once they're on the road trip, the boss and Jonny start talking, and the boss explains a lot of the backstory of why he's doing this. And Jonny gets to hear his story and actually feels like his actions make a lot of sense based on what he had to go through. And because of how nice Jonny is being, the boss is starting to question everything, starting to feel like going for all this effort to destroy Jonny and his friends is the wrong way to take things. The boss is being redeemed. And throughout these road trip videos, we get to see these logs. These are the scientists slash doctors' secret logs of information. And we learn that the scientist's name is Francis Dave. Basically, this guy would kidnap and experiment on kids with the body, soul, and mind. I believe his end goal was to try and become immortal, and he would use kids to his disposal. And I think many, unfortunately, died from it. If you couldn't tell, this Francis Dave guy is kind of a little bit of a bad guy here. Anyways, one of these kids was the boss, and the scientists raised the boss. boss. Well, more like the boss was a slave to Francis Dave, until he got old enough to the point where the boss overtook the facility and defeated Francis Dave. And once he did that, well, that's when season 1 of the Shorts Wars happened. Because attacking and trying to become better was really all he knew. And this is now something that Jonny is aware of. But then, unfortunately, they get into an argument. You see, Jonny tells the boss that there's going to be a lawsuit against him. I believe this lawsuit court case was set up by Mogswamp. And upon hearing this, the boss is very mad. But Jonny is insisting that he believes the boss can win now by giving all this information about Francis Dave. But in a fit of rage, the boss sends Jonny out. But I think he needs some time by himself. Anyways, that's what's going on with the boss and Jonny RaZeR. As for Danno, well, there's a secret video where he's captured and being interrogated by Clone Danno, and also Clone Riggy appears. Now, Clone Riggy has actually been taking, like, fur, I guess, from the original Riggy, and it's revealed that Clone Riggy actually needs this to stay alive from, like, glitching into oblivion. Oh, and back to Danos Channel, which Clone Danno has been running. After attacking Riggy for that second time, which I showed earlier, he gives Riggy amnesia, and the clone comes in and has to basically fill in the role of being the channel's mascot because Riggy is not doing so well. However, after multiple shorts, Riggy has become so annoying to Clone Riggy that he just gives up. He does not want to run the channel with Clone Danno anymore. And so he teleports Danno from that secret hostage place and gives the channel back to Danno and Riggy. And then Clone Riggy disappears with Clone Danno. Also, by the way, I forgot to mention this, but Clone Danno decided to have the name Preston. Just thought I'd throw that lore in there. But anyways, Preston teleports himself and Clone Danno away, leaving Danno and Riggy to run the channel, and Riggy was pretending to have amnesia the second time to annoy Clone Riggy into leaving, and it worked. And although Danno didn't want to hear it, because he's kind of done with all the Shorts Wars, Riggy tells Danno that the boss is Jonny RaZeR's brother, and Danno is completely surprised. Oh, and going back to the Mogswamp situation, he actually does get his world back by getting into contact with cdot, who literally just throws it to him. Oh, and speaking about cdot, he's been on his quest to get this sword. I think it's called the Truth Singer. He's been doing his quest to get that, and at the end, he had to fight a clone of himself, and the clone was easily defeated, and now he has the sword. And by the way, he's been talking to his friend named Frederick. That's what all the green text at the bottom is. Frederick talking to cdot. Anyways, let's go back to the whole RoyalPear situation, because he's been trapped in this computer. By the way, in this computer, we also see Joe Caine and BunDun. Maybe they're not trapped in their mind. Maybe they're just trapped in this computer. But anyways, RoyalPear is going through this journey. He actually meets Royal Proto along the way, and he also meets Joe Caine, who literally dies. Well, he gets exploded, and RoyalPear is telling him to wake up, and then he disappears. Remember that for later. Anyways, RoyalPear finds Royal Melon, and he's kind of not moving. In fact, he kind of falls over. And Royal Melon has actually been controlling RoyalPear's channel right now. Like, he's outside of the computer controlling his channel. Like, he's like also stuck in the world. I don't know. This is crazy stuff right here. Then Bundan shows up and doesn't really want to deal with RoyalPear's antics, so he teleports Bundan in, and RoyalPear is catching on to something, so he shoots Bundan. This is also kind of important. And then at the end, RoyalPear shoots Royal Melon and himself, which allows them to escape. And now I guess Royal Melon lives with RoyalPear, but that kind of happens after the ARG. And now about the Bundan situation, Dunbun can actually go in and talk to Bundan at any time in this void place, which I'm pretty sure is in the computer somewhere. I don't think it's in Whizzle anywhere, it's just in the computer. And they actually start talking a lot and kind of form a friendship. But then I told you to remember this moment. This allows BunDun to wake up, but now Dunbun is left alone in this void forever. With Joe Caine though, PewDiePie tells him to wake up. In actuality, it might be someone else who said wake up. Interesting. Oh well. And Joe Caine does wake up and sees Ko, which is his clone. So I guess they are actually separate bodies. And now they're going to fight each other, so Joe Caine goes up to Ko, and then Yeah, I think Joe Caine's clone is dead. And now, we reach the finale of Season 2 with this video right here. cdot has been a secret agent and is now going to lead the entire team to the second facility to destroy it once and for all, which I guess will help with the boss not going there, I guess, and making sure that the boss has to go to the court case. And so they all team up with Riggy as a safe way to get teleported out because Riggy can teleport now. And so they all go down, cdot deletes a file, which starts to make the place explode. And also Joe Caine shows up, but as they're going to leave, Clone Riggy appears blocking their path. But RoyalPear escapes the computer at the perfect time and shoots him. Anyways, they leave the facility, but then there's Clone Danno, who literally just gets immediately shot. Jonny RaZeR isn't wasting any time, I guess. But Clone Riggy is still alive. So cdot grabs him and BunDun drop kicks him, just as Dacia would have won. Oh, and by the way, Dacia, Red Jet, and Mellow Productions are kind of in this. Like, I think the boss contacted them to try and and get them on their side. Gotcha said no, but I believe Redjet and Mello said yes. I believe one of those two is being a double agent. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really affect the main plot, but I thought I'd just throw that in there. Anyways, the second facility is finally destroyed, and now we are awaiting the court case in season 3. And that wraps up the entirety of season 2. Please subscribe because this is my longest video by far. I do hope to make some longer videos like this, but yeah. And by the way, this video showing up right here is a recap I did of season 1, so if you're behind with that, make sure to check it out.